Good day everyone! Today we'll talk about photosynthesis. So have you ever wondered how plants feed themselves? Why most plants are green? Well, in this video, we'll discuss what is photosynthesis, what is the process of photosynthesis, the importance of photosynthesis, and lastly, examples of applying photosynthesis.
What is photosynthesis? From the word photosynthesis, photo is a Greek word meaning light, and synthesis is another Greek word meaning putting together or building something. But what exactly is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the process of making glucose, which is the energy source for most cells. It makes this from sunlight energy, water, and carbon dioxide, as well as CO2, CO3, and oxygen. It is also the process by which plants, algae, and some bacteria convert sunlight into chemical energy in the forms of sugars.
Plants absorb carbon dioxide and water from the air and soil during photosynthesis. Water is oxidized within the plant cell, which means it loses electrons, but carbon dioxide is reduced. This converts water to oxygen and carbon dioxide to glucose. The plant then returns the oxygen to the atmosphere while storing energy inside the glucose molecules.
So firstly, what is chlorophyll? Have you noticed the green color of a plant? Well, chlorophyll gives plant their green color because it does not absorb the green wavelength of white light. White light consists of three primary colors: red, blue, and green. That particular light wavelength is reflected from the plant, so it appears green. The function of chlorophyll in a plant is to absorb light, usually sunlight.
Chloroplasts are double membrane organelles that are responsible for the process of photosynthesis. They are found in the plant cells and also in photosynthetic eukaryotic. Chloroplasts move around within the cell, which allows them to assign themselves to the most favorable position for absorbing light. The chloroplast is double membrane. It has both an outer and inner membrane and an intermembrane space between them. Inside the inner membrane, there is an aqueous fluid called the stroma. In the stroma, you can find ribosomes and chloroplast DNA. This stroma is where the Calvin cycle occurs, which is the second step in photosynthesis that produces glucose. Suspended in the stroma is the thylakoid system. This system consists of membranous sacs called thylakoids. Chlorophyll pigments are found in the membrane of the thylakoids and give the chloroplast their green color. The thylakoid membrane also has proteins that make up a photosynthetic electron transport chain and ATP synthase, which is where the light-dependent reactions of photosynthesis take place. The main function of the chloroplast is in the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis occurs in two steps. The light-dependent reactions, which as already mentioned, occurs in the thylakoid membranes, and the light-dependent reactions, which are the Calvin cycle, that occurs in the stroma of the chloroplast.
The light-dependent reaction is one of the two basic processes of photosynthesis. The light reaction occurs within the cycloid of the chloroplast. The light reaction uses light energy and water to produce ATP and NADPH. Oxygen gas is released as a byproduct. Together, ATP and the NADPH form during the reaction and used by the Calvin cycle reaction.
Both reactions are Calvin cycle. The overall purpose of the Calvin cycle is to convert carbon dioxide from the atmosphere into carbohydrates or sugars, which the plant needs to power its cellular activities and build new plant structures. The Calvin cycle occurs within the stroma of the chloroplast. The reactions use the ATP and NADPH produced by the light reactions to convert the CO2 to carbohydrate. The carbon cycle can be divided into three phases: carbon dioxide fixation, carbon dioxide reduction, and regeneration of RUBP. The first phase, carbon dioxide fixation, basically captures the CO2 from the atmosphere, so it can be used in the reactions. To do this, CO2 is attached to RUBP, a 5-carbon molecule. The enzyme used in this reaction is called rubisco, and the result of the reaction is an unstable 6-carbon molecule that quickly splits into two 3-carbon molecules called 3-phosphoglycerate or 3-PG. Next, the process of converting the CO2 to carbohydrates begins.
This phase is called the carbon dioxide reduction phase because we're adding electrons and energy to the CO2 molecule. During this phase, a sequence of reactions uses NADPH and some of the ATP from the light reactions. These molecules supply the needed electrons and energy for CO2 reduction. Electrons are added from NADPH and through a series of reactions, 3PG is reduced to form G3P, a carbohydrate. ADP and NAD+ return to the thylakoids to be converted back to ATP and NADPH by the light reactions. One of the G3P molecules is set aside as a building block for glucose, but the majority of the G3P molecules move forward into the third phase of the Calvin cycle. In this phase, ATP is used to combine the rest of G3P molecules to form RUBP molecules. These RUBP can then combine with additional carbon dioxide molecules, continuing the carbon reactions. To form a glucose molecule, the cycle actually has to turn 6 times because each turn of the cycle adds only one carbon atom from the incoming carbon dioxide. It's important to remember that the Calvin cycle is dependent on the light reactions, which provide NADPH and ATP, which in turn provide the electrons and energy needed to form carbohydrates.
Photosynthesis makes the planet livable. All life on Earth depends on photosynthesis. This includes both animals and plants. It is the only biological process capable of converting solar energy, which comes from space, into the chemical molecules or carbohydrates that every living thing uses to fuel its metabolism. Photosynthetic organisms remove carbon dioxide from the air. Carbon dioxide then is transformed into other organic compounds, supporting life. While animals exhale carbon dioxide, trees and algae act as a carbon sink, keeping most of the elements out of the air.
Examples of applying photosynthesis. First example is food. Food is produced by plants through a process known as photosynthesis. Second example is paper. Books and notebooks are made of paper, which is produced by photosynthesis. Cellulose, a substance created by joining many sugar molecules to create starch, makes up the majority of paper.
Facts and trivia about photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the reverse of cellular respiration. Both photosynthesis and cellular respiration yield molecules used for energy. However, photosynthesis produces the sugar glucose, which is an energy storage molecule. Cellular respiration takes the sugar and turns it into a form both plants and animals can use. Plants aren't the only organisms that perform photosynthesis. Organisms that use light for the energy needed to make their own food are called producers. In contrast, consumers are creatures that eat producers to get energy. While plants are best known as producers, some protists like algae or cyanobacteria also make sugar via photosynthesis.
Mm. Photosynthesis It is the only biological process capable of converting solar energy, which comes from space into the chemical molecules. Charis.